This is Tony T here from TonySpicks.com with our college football pick show. This is week 6, part 4. We're going to get the remainder of the Saturday games. We'll have all Saturday games up on the channel. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Lots of free picks over our channel, delivered by myself, as well as our team of cappers here at TonySpicks.com, making it a great channel to subscribe to. Give us a like, a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. It really helps us build up our audience. And then visit our site, TonySpicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top performers in our industry. Click the links to the high cappers, get signed up to long-term passes. You see our top performers up there like Sean Higgs, Rod up there as well as yours truly. Brian Biller's been red hot the last 30 days, the last 7 days as well. Brian Palmer here up on the leaderboard as well. Latest picks here on the page with best bets and more. We will be locked and loaded for this card here on a Friday. Remember, all of our one-day passes are profit guaranteed. They must turn a profit amount purchase will be credited back to your account for site credits. That's profit guaranteed. And then our promo code TonyT at checkout knocks off that 15%. The link is in the description to get signed up. So let's go ahead. Let's get this one underway. All right, Kent and Oklahoma for Saturday. All right, we've got Kent here 1-3 after a 66-10 road to defeat Florida State. Golden Flashes rushed for under 2 yards a carry and were ineffective in the passing game. They allowed 775 yards to the Seminoles, unable to stop the run or pass. Drew Shields in the game 9 of 18 for 129 yards with a touchdown and pick. Oklahoma 4-0 after a 24-17 home victory against Auburn. Sooners only rushed for 32 yards but moved the football through the air. They limited the Tigers to 1.9 yards per rush with 220 passing yards for 6.7 yards per pass attempt. Michael Hawkins will start for an injured John Mateer, who could miss up to 3 games. Oklahoma has a 41-point road win at Temple. Kent has been blown out at Florida State by 56 and at Texas Tech by 48. Hawkins attempted 120 passes last year, so he has game experience. Golden Flash has offensively averaged just 2.5 yards a carry and have been inaccurate in the passing game. Oklahoma has defended well, meaning Akron will struggle to get points here. Kent State is 2-12 the spread on the road. The Sooners 10-3 the spread as a home favorite. Pick here Oklahoma here minus 45.5. Coastal Carolina and Old Dominion going off here on Saturday. Coastal Carolina now 2-2 after a 38-20 road victory at South Alabama. The Chanticleers rushed for 182 yards for 5.9 yards a carry with an ineffectiveness in the passing game. It allowed 223 yards of rushing for 5 yards a carry and limited them in the passing game. Tad Hudson here 13-25 passing for 112 yards and a rushing touchdown. Old Dominion 3-1 after a 21-7 home victory against Liberty. The Monarchs gained 499 yards, were effective in running and passing. They limited the Flames to 77 passing yards and 133 yards on the ground for 3 yards a carry. Colton Joseph in the game, 18-26 passing, 271 yards with a 3 touchdowns and a pick. He rushed for 76 yards in the game. ODU has pounded their past 2 opponents. They were competitive in a 27-14 road defeat in Indiana. Chanticleers are getting poor quarterback play and running for just 4.3 yards a carry. Monarchs' offense has been good, nearly 7 yards a carry on the ground. Great quarterback play. Coastal Carolina 1-3 the spread on the road, facing a team that averages 425 yards per game or greater. Pick here Old Dominion minus 20.5. South Alabama and Troy going off here on Saturday. South Alabama 1-4 after their 36-22 road defeat at North Texas. Jaguars rushed for 240 yards for 4.5 yards a carry, but they were inefficient in the passing game. They surrendered 195 yards rushing to the Mean Green with 5 yards a carry with 9 yards per pass attempt. Bishop Davenport 17-34 passing for 195 yards with a touchdown and pick. He rushed for 59 yards and a score. Troy improved to 2-2 after a 21-17 road win at Buffalo. Trojans rushed for 3.5 yards a carry with inefficient passing. They limited the Bulls' passing game, allowed 125 yards of rushing for 3.5 yards per rush. Tucker Hillcrease 14-24 passing, 148 yards with a touchdown and pick. He rushed for 50 yards and a score. Another loss by the Jaguars at home to Coastal Carolina by 18 is a concern here. The South Alabama here is allowing 5.2 yards per rush. Troy is defending the run well. It's the 3rd game for Hillcrease, replacing an injured Goose Crowder, who led the team with a road win he did lead the team with a road win last week. This Hillcrease. South Alabama 5-9 the spread on the road. Trojans 3-1 to the spread at home facing a team that allows 31 points or greater. We'll take Troy here, -1.5. FAU and Rice going off here on Saturday. FAU drops to 1-3 after a 55-26 home defeat to Memphis. The Owls, though, were limited on the ground, but were able to gather yards through the air. On defense, they allowed 487 yards to the Tigers with no success stopping the run or pass. Kane Camp here, 31-50 passing for 318 yards. He rushed for 20 yards and a score. Rice 3-2 after a 21-13 road defeat at Navy. Owls were limited on the ground and through the air. They gave up 455 yards to the midshipmen with poor defense against the run and pass. Chase Jenkins here, 12-21 passing for 114 yards and a touchdown. Rice has moved the triple option, running at high volume, averaging 51 yards rushing per game. Rushing attempts, 51 rushing attempts per game for nearly 4.5 yards a carry. They have defended well, holding foes to 20 points per game with only 51% completion rate. FAU 4.8 yards per rush with 174 rushing yards. FAU 4-8 to the spread as a run dog. Rice 7-2 the spread at home. Following a loss, pick here Rice -4.5. UNLV and Wyoming, this one for Saturday. UNLV now 4-0 after a 41-38 road victory at Miami, Ohio. The Rebels rushed for 222 yards for 5.2 yards a carry. They allowed 396 yards to the Redhawks with struggles defending the run and pass. Anthony Calandria, 29-43 passing for 293 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. He rushed for 54 yards in the game. Wyoming 2-2 with their 37-20 road defeat at Colorado. The Cowboys rushed for 4 yards a carry and were able to move the football through the air. They allowed 497 yards to the bus with poor defense against the run and pass. Cade Anderson, 11-25 passing for 176 yards with 2 touchdowns. UNLV posting some really good offensive numbers with 5.5 yards per rush and efficient quarterback play. Defensively, they have issues against the run and pass. Wyoming is getting inaccurate and inefficient quarterback play and struggles on defense against the run. The Rebels are 13-4 the spread on the road. Pick here UNLV -3.5. Texas Tech and Houston going off on Saturday. Texas Tech now 4-0 after a 34-10 road win at Utah. The Red Raiders gained 484 yards with success on the ground and air. They limited the Red Raiders to 3.3 yards a carry with 162 passing yards for 5 yards per attempt. Baron Morton here, 12-19 passing for 142 yards with 2 interceptions. Houston 4-0 after a 27-24 road win at Oregon State. The Cougars rushed for only 2.8 yards a carry but moved the football through the air. On defense, they held the Beavers to 3.8 yards a carry with 201 passing yards for 6.1 yards per pass attempt. Connor Wegman in the game, 20 of 36 passing, 270 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Cougars have a home win against Colorado by 16. They are defending well, holding teams to 3.3 yards per rush, 4.9 yards per pass attempt. Houston 3-1 to the spread at home, facing teams with a 750 or higher win percentage. The Red Raiders are allowing 66% completion rate on the road. Pick here Houston +11.5. Mississippi State and Texas A&M for Saturday night. Mississippi State is 4-1 after their 41-34 home defeat at Tennessee. The Bulldogs rushed for 198 yards for 3.5 yards a carry. They allowed 4.1 yards per rush to the Volunteers, but 335 yards passing for 8.4 yards per pass attempt. Blake Shapen, 18-29 passing for 180 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Texas A&M with their 16-10 home victory against Auburn here. The Aggies rushed for 207 yards or 4.4 yards a carry with efficiency in the passing game. They limited the Tigers' passing game and allowed 2.2 yards per rush. Marcel Reed here, 15-22 passing for 207 yards and a pick. Now, dating back to last year, the Aggies have failed to cover 8 of 9. The Bulldogs have covered 8 of 9 themselves here. Mississippi State getting good quarterback play from Shapen and completing 65% of their passes for 8.2 yards per pass attempt. The Aggies have lacked accuracy at the quarterback position, just over 59% completion rate. Pick here, Mississippi State, plus 15.5. All right, we've got Kansas and UCF going off on Saturday. Kansas now 3-2 after a 37-34 home defeat to Cincinnati. Jayhawks rushed for 152 yards for 5.5 yards a carry with huge passing performance here. They allowed 603 yards to the Bearcats with poor defense against the run and pass. Jalen Daniels, 19-28 passing for 445 yards with 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 55 yards. UCF 3-1 after a 34-20 road defeat at Kansas State. Knights rushed for 205 yards for 6.2 yards a carry. On defense, they allowed 266 yards on the ground of the Wildcats for 6 yards a carry with 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Taven Jackson, 12 of 24 passing for 115 yards and a pick. Jayhawks in their lone road game were beaten 42-31 at Missouri. Dating back to last year, they lost 3 out of 4 on the road. In the road loss to the Tigers, the Jayhawks allowed 5.6 yards per rush with 77% completion rate for 334 yards passing. The Knights offense has been getting great play at quarterback, 5.5 yards per rush as well. Kansas 3-6 to the spread as road favorite. Pick here will be on UCF plus 5. Colorado and TCU for Saturday night. Colorado 2-3 after their 24-21 home defeat to BYU. The Buffs rushed for 172 yards for 4.5 yards a carry, but limited in the passing game. They allowed 208 yards rushing to the Cougars with nearly 6 yards a carry. Caden Salter, 11 of 16 passing for 119 yards with a touchdown and pick. He rushed for 49 yards and a score. TCU fell to 3-1 after a 27-24 road win at Arizona State. Horned Frogs blew a 17-0 lead early. They rushed for only 10 yards and were inefficient in the passing game. They allowed 498 yards to the Sun Devils, struggling to stop the run and pass. Hoover in the game, 20 of 32 passing for 242 yards and 2 interceptions. He rushed for a touchdown. TCU didn't rush for 10. They were limited in the rushing game there. We're looking here. Colorado in their lone road game was defeated by 16 at Houston. The Buffs in their road game got poor quarterback play and struggled defending the pass. TCU is getting good quarterback play from Hoover with accuracy, 321 yards per game, 9 yards per pass attempt. Horned Frogs 3-1 to the spread as a home favorite of 7.5 to 14 points. Pick here TCU minus 13.5. We got Miami and Florida State going off on Saturday. All right, in this one, we got Miami now 4-0 after a 26-7 home victory against Florida. Hurricane rushed for 184 yards for 4 yards a carry and lacked efficiency in the passing game. They limit the Gators to 80 yards rushing and 61 passing yards. Carson Beck, 17 of 30 passing for 160 yards and a pick. Florida State drops to 3-1 after a 46-38 home road defeat to Virginia. Seminoles gained 513 yards rushing for 256 yards, 5.5 yards a carry. Defensively, they allowed 211 yards rushing to the Cats for 4.4 yards a carry, along with 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Each team turned it over 3 times. Tommy Castellanos hit 18 of 32 passes for 264 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks. He rushed for 78 yards and a score. Miami plays their first 2 road game. Florida State has a 14-point home win against Alabama. Seminoles at home rushed for over 7 yards a carry with 71% completion rate for 13.7 yards per pass attempt. They have defended the run and pass well at home. Miami 3-5 to the spread on the road against the ACC. Pick here Florida State here plus 4.5. Minnesota and Ohio State for Saturday night. Minnesota 3-1 after a 31-28 home victory against Rutgers. The Golden Gophers were held to 35 rushing yards, but moved the football through the air. They held the Scarlet Knights to 3.3 yards a carry, along with 249 yards passing for 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Drake Lindsey, 31 of 41 passing for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. Ohio State 4-0 after a 24-6 road win at Washington. The Buckeyes rushed for 149 yards for 4.4 yards a carry with movement in the passing game. They limited the Huskies to 61 yards rushing for 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Julian Sayin, 22 of 28 passing for 208 yards with 2 touchdowns. Minnesota getting good quarterback play this season with 66% completion rate, 8.4 yards per pass attempt. They have defended the run and pass well. The Golden Gophers 4-1 at the spread on the road against winning teams. Pick here Minnesota plus 23.5. Tulsa and Memphis going off on Saturday. Tulsa 2-3 after a 31-14 home defeat to Tulane. The Golden Hurricane rushed for 2.5 yards a carry and moved the football through the air. They surrendered 4.3 yards a carry with 252 passing yards for 7.9 yards per pass attempt. Baylor Haynes here, 18-36 passing for 245 yards with a touchdown and pick. Memphis now 5-0 with a 55-26 road win at FAU. The Tigers gained 487 yards with success in their run and passing game. They limited FAU to 2.6 yards a carry, but 322 yards passing for 6.3 yards per pass attempt. Brendan Lewis, 13 of 19 passing for 196 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 60 yards and 2 scores. Tulsa offense has struggled running the football with efficiency in the passing game with only 6 yards per pass attempt. The Golden Hurricane defense allowing nearly 5 yards per carry. Memphis averaging 448 yards per game and getting really good quarterback play behind the mobile Lewis who can run and pass with accuracy. Memphis has held opposing quarterbacks at 3.1 yards a carry. Opposing defenses, I should say, opposing defense. Memphis held opposing offenses here to 3.1 yards a carry, 58% completion rates. Tulsa 0-2 as a road dog of 10.5 to 21 points. Memphis has 4 wins against non-power schools, Power 5 schools, and the wins have been by 21 or greater points. Pick here Memphis minus 20. Nevada and Fresno State going off here on Saturday. We got Nevada 1-3 after a 31-16 road defeat to Western Kentucky. Wolfpack rushed for 207 yards for 5.3 yards to carry and limited in the passing game. They allowed 145 yards rushing to the Hilltoppers for 4.4 yards to carry, with 216 yards passing for 6.5 yards per pass attempt. John Purdy in the game, 16-30 passing for 165 yards, 2 picks. He rushed for 60 yards and a touchdown. Fresno State 4-1 with a 23-21 road win at Hawaii. The Bulldogs were held at 2 yards per rush, but moved the football through the air. They limited the Warriors on the ground and allowed 219 yards passing for only 4.6 yards per pass attempt. E.J. Warner, 22-29 passes for 230 yards with a touchdown. Nevada has rushed effectively, 5 yards to carry, and limited opponents on the ground. Fresno State is allowing opposing quarterbacks to complete 65% of their passes. Wolfpack 4-2 the spread on the road against winning teams. Fresno State 1-3 the spread at home against losing teams. Pick here Nevada plus 13.5. Duke in California first Saturday night. Duke improved to 3-2 after their 38-3 road victory at Syracuse. Blue Devils gained 521 yards with success on the ground and through the air. They limited the Orange on the ground and allowed 229 yards passing for 6.2 yards per pass attempt. They utilized a backup quarterback to their injured starter there, Angeli. Darian Mensah, 22 of 28 passing for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cal now is 4-1 after a 28-24 road win at Boston College. Golden Bears gained 118 yards rushing, 3.2 yards a carry, and moved the football through the air effectively. They allowed 178 yards rushing in the game, but only 5.3 yards per pass. As a matter of fact, they ran for 8.5 yards a carry against them. Jaron King Sagapolete, 22 of 34 passes for 254 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Tough spot for Duke, back-to-back road spot, this late night nonsense out west, having to travel to these West Coast schools in the ACC. The Golden Bears beat Minnesota by 13 at home in a late night spot. Duke has losses on the road to Tulane and Ole Miss with really poor defensive performances there. Duke on the road allowing 193 yards rushing for 5.5 yards a carry with 269 on the passing yardage for 7.3 yards per pass attempt. The Golden Bears passing game and defense has been outstanding at home. Duke 1-3 of the spread on the road, facing a team that allows 120 yards rushing or fewer per game. Cal 4-1 of the spread as home dog. Pick here Cal plus the 3. For more free pick videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We have lots of free picks on our channel from myself as well as the team of cappers here at Tony'sPicks.com, making this a great channel to subscribe to. Hit us up with that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. It really helps us build up our channel. And then visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com, for our best bets. Our premium plays are there. Use that promo code TonyT at checkout, and you'll save that 15% off and get signed up. We're locked and loaded here for this card here on Saturday coming up. That's going to do it for now. I'm Tony T, and we'll talk with you guys later.